Can I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Serko.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Kellogg absent. Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For presentations tonight, we have Harriet Lawrence, our Arts Commission Chairwoman. Harriet, would you like to step forward? How are you this evening?
Doing well. Love the big ball of yellow over in the sky.
Exactly.
And just, yeah, which we haven't seen for a while. Thank you for this opportunity. Hope you're enjoying the art on the council walls in the back. You get to watch it all evening, I guess. Tony Kirk, the artist. There's a bio that will be posted back there that gives you sort of an explanation of how she got into this art, and it sort of talks about what art can do to heal the artist, because she came to art by way of being an oncology nurse and having her heart sort of broken and turning to art as a solace for herself, and is loving it and also gives lessons. And you can pick up a card from her in the back, Trendy Transformations by Tony. So we have plenty of applicants to display art, so we will fill the rotation of at least 4 artists over the next year. And I hope you also get down or have also gotten down to Centerview to see the quilt display from the middle school kids again. They're making a habit of getting up on that wall, and it's awesome, as they would say. So I hope you get down there to see that. We have lots of plans the commission does for the next few months. We have our family art days planned for practically the whole year. So the next couple of months, we'll be making kites and painting rocks, all the way planned through to October and carving pumpkins. There will be a paint and sip party later on, which is a very popular thing, and the enrollment fills up before we practically advertise it. And maybe you all would like to participate too. We are going to have several musical evenings at Centerview, and haven't quite picked out the musical, what those offerings will be, but we will have at least 2 concerts at Centerview during the summer. And of course, a mural will be going up at Recreation Park sometime this spring. Things that the commission is really anticipating and is the development of the playground at TB Hanna and our participation in that, which is a pleasure. And of course, the amphitheater at Hawkbridge Park. We look forward to doing musical and theater offerings there. The commission did a survey, sort of a follow-up to a survey that we had done 3 years ago, and we had, I don't know, about 20 questions, and a few of them we repeated, such as what would you most like to see in terms of art in Raymore? And again, as 3 years ago, the most important thing to people is music. And so we have not had a venue to be able to offer much of that until now with Centerview, and then with the amphitheater. We really look forward to that. It looks like a great year ahead. We always have to acknowledge the help of Mr. Icky and Ms. Harmer as doing the giant part of the work. But we thank all of you on the council for your support of the Arts Commission and look forward to a good year.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Lawrence?
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's good seeing you.
Good to see you.
We have no personal appearances on the schedule tonight, so I'll turn to the staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report for the Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Mr. Mayor, members of council, in addition to my written report, just wanted to
call to everyone's attention that MoDOT is scheduled to start work on 58 Highway west of Dean Avenue this week, and it's going to be quite an extensive amount of work. They're going to be replacing curb, sidewalk, and then milling and overlaying 58 from Dean all the way to Holmes. So there will be some delays for folks traveling west on 58 Highway. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Mr. Furlong?
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I would ask Mr. Musteen to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council. In addition to my staff report, a couple weeks ago, I gave a quite extensive list, so I'll keep it short tonight. Just a couple updates. The new bollards at the rack have been installed, and they look fantastic. They mimic what is over at Centerview, so they look really good, and pleased with that project. If you drive down School Road, you'll see the skyline's a little different as the park house is no longer. So it is, they'll be filling in the hole the rest of the week, and that project should be wrapped up within a couple weeks. But it does look kind of different out there now. And finally, we had our first food truck event of the year last Friday night at Recreation Park. Huge success, had a great turnout. It's hard to estimate the attendance there, but best we can do is well over 600 over the course of the evening. So I think those of you there would probably agree with that. And so great event, great kickoff to our spring season. And with that concludes staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Musteen. Good report. I was out there. There's a lot of people coming and going. Probably could have run that a little longer. It was a really good turnout, and the band was really good. A question, I drove by today and saw that the Parks house was down. I know that our plan is to put a picnic shelter there in its place. Is that, and I can't remember, I apologize, is that funded yet, or for this year? Will we be doing that soon, or is that a capital project a year or two out?
Yes, sir. Actually, the entire project, the shelter and the demolition of the park house, is one project. We just phased it twice, or into two parts. So this will be the first part, and then we'll let the ground settle and prepare for probably a fall construction of the shelter.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Sirko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, to talk on about Friday night, I was there and talked to many people. It was so crowded. The bands were playing, people were sitting out. They really enjoyed that evening. And I got a lot of response from a lot of people who were very excited about it. And they're basically the biggest thing that came to me from a lot of people: are we going to do more of these as a city? Are we going to be able to have, like I was telling you earlier, a big night somewhere, have a Raymore night, in the fall? They really loved getting together, the people of the city. So they really enjoyed it. It was a great time, a great night. So thank you very much. That turned out spectacular.
Yes, weather definitely helps on that. So we had a good night on Friday night.
No kidding. So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you have any unexpected finds in taking down the old park house since it had been a private home previously?
Well, for the most part, when we renovated it back in 2003, 2004, that's when most of the treasures were found. Yeah. we did, as a staff, kind of hid some Easter eggs in the foundation and stuff when we did that, and so those things were popping out as they were busting the floor up. And the old master bedroom had a shower. We had closed that off, and we hung an old skeleton in there, and just to be fun. And so those things came out, but nothing new that we didn't know about at this point.
Okay. And if they stored something somewhere. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Furborn.
The term treasures cuts two ways, of course. I would ask, thank you, Mr. Musteen. I would ask Chief Zimmerman to make a report for the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Furborn. With the warm weather coming, we felt in discussion with the core team, Mr. Furborn, that it would be appropriate for us to once again remind the community with warm weather, crime sometimes rises. And so I'm going to be talking just for a few minutes tonight about thefts from auto. When folks break into cars, and some things that you've probably heard me say repeatedly over the years. I try to remind people every year when this time comes, but the truth is that sometimes victims make themselves easy targets for thieves. You've heard me say it again and again about don't leave valuables in your cars, especially in plain sight. If you don't have any other option, you have to leave something in your car, at least conceal it well, close all the windows and lock all of the doors. Leaving guns in cars, even in locked cars, potentially puts it in the hands of a criminal. And we're going to talk a little bit about the flyers that you have there in front of you here in just a minute. But I want people watching, I want our community to remember that the thief who steals the gun out of your car maybe isn't the violent criminal who will use it later on. They may sell it to a violent criminal who's going to use that gun for an armed robbery or some other type of crime. So that person who's looking for the item to steal, to sell to someone, may not be the violent criminal who's going to use that gun, but the gun is going to end up in the wrong hands, whether it's the thief or the person that they sell it to. When we take a report of a theft from a vehicle, almost 100% of the time the vehicles are left unlocked. Rarely is someone breaking out a window to get something out of a car. And it takes, I think we timed, you know, as individuals, because every once in a while we get video, as individuals are walking down the street and they're lifting up on door handles of cars, they can check 100 cars in 5 minutes as they're going down the street. They're looking for the easy target, as you see on these flyers, and leaving the car unlocked makes that vehicle an easy target. In addition to talking about vehicles just for a minute, I also want to talk about just also making it more difficult for individuals to victimize you, like leaving your garage door open. Even if you're at home, if you're in your backyard and your garage door's open, it's very easy for a criminal to walk into the garage, steal your lawnmower, steal your weed eater, steal, you know, something out of your garage. So even if you're at home, close your garage door, lock your doors, you know, make sure that somebody's not going to walk into your residence. Don't leave valuables in the yard. Yard tools, bicycles, things like that, that are easy targets if somebody is walking down the street. Not that any of this is humorous in any way, but we have so many bicycles that, you know, when bicycles are stolen and then they're recovered someplace else in the city, of course, they end up in our property unit. People looking for their missing bicycles never call the police department for some reason, because we have all of them. So if they want to come and get them, we've got them. You've heard me say it time and time again, we can't be everywhere, and so we ask people to watch out for your neighbors. Watch out for, you know what's suspicious. You know a car that doesn't belong in the driveway of your neighbor's house. And so, you know, we ask to call 911. How many times have you heard me say, you're not wasting our time, this is our job, please let us come and make sure that those individuals are supposed to be there and they belong in the neighborhood. So you're not bothering us, this is our job. But what we ask is, and you've heard us say it over and over again, please call us real time. Call us when you see something happening, when you see that suspicious car out there. Don't post it on social media. Don't call us the next day and say, I saw something last night. But if you want to post it on social media, call 911 first and then put it out for people that may be following you on social media. Call first and then post. But be aware, even if you're vigilant and you are somebody who calls the police, that those criminals are not going to stop being thieves. They're not going to stop breaking into cars. They're just going to be displaced. What I'd love is to displace them completely out of the area, because they're going to continue to break into cars. They're going to continue to steal. I just don't want it to be here. So, you know, what we ask is, you know, be vigilant so that we displace them completely out of the area. As I mentioned, what you've got in front of you is a campaign that we're starting, and if Mike has anything he wants to add to our Lock It or Lose It campaign, this is a start of what we're going to be looking at. We've tried every nice way possible to say to folks, lock your car, but you know, if you're going to leave a gun in your car and potentially leave your car unlocked, then it's going to end up in the wrong hands. Mike, did you want to add anything to?
Nope.
Okay. Well, and thank heaven, Mike is creative, because you know, I'm a police officer because
I'm
I am
glad
not
he turned
creative.
his mic on to shake his head no.
No, no. We're also obviously encouraging our residents to try new ideas. You probably heard me talk about crime prevention through environmental design. You know, cut back bushes, add additional lighting. Motion sensor lighting is good. We get a lot of good information from cameras on people's houses. Doorbell cameras, obviously, are all things that are very helpful to us. So, you know, I encourage people to, you know, any way that they can keep their property more secured, more well lit, keep people away from their property, because they will move on to an easy target if you make your target more difficult. The good news is that year-to-date in 2018, as of this time, we had 22 theft from autos. This year we've had 9. And part of that is just good old-fashioned police work, and I have to give a shout out to both patrol and investigations in that we have charged 5 adults and 2 juveniles, and those interviews with those juveniles are ongoing because we know that there are more people involved. There's a older ringleader with some of the younger juveniles that are involved in the thefts. So there are going to be possibly additional victims and additional suspects involved in this investigation, because there are multiple crimes that have been performed by those individuals that we've already brought charges against. So a big thank you to both the prosecutor's office, the juvenile division, and other agencies that we've been working closely with, because they're working all over the area. So we are down significantly from last year. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that presentation, Chief. I got a chance to speak at one of our Cass County deputy sheriff's homes the other day for about a half hour, and we were talking about this subject. And one of the things that he told me that I had not heard before was one of the things that we expect to see, especially coming up in April, is that a lot of, they've seen this all over the county when there are thunderstorms. That's a time where you would think people wouldn't be out breaking into cars, but they've been using the thunderstorms as a good opportunity, because dogs are inside. Dogs are not, actively barking, and if they are, they're not being heard over the thunder. And so that was something that we talked about a little while that I had not heard before. That was, I'm sure you've heard that before, but it was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, any time that, whether it's inclement weather or other circumstances where you don't have a lot of people outside, you will see criminals, performing those criminal acts, because they don't want to be seen. They want to get in, they want to get out, and so yes, during inclement weather, when it's raining cats and dogs, you're not going to see a lot of normal people out, but you will see criminals, absolutely.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Chief. Next week's work session, April 1st, 2019. There are currently 3 items on the agenda. The first one I pulled from the last work session agenda because we had limited response relative to the Amazon delivery vehicles from my colleagues around the state. So we've been attempting to get a little bit more information from them on kind of where they and their councils stand on this particular issue, but I think we'll be up to speed by Monday night, I hope. We're also going to be doing follow-up with the council. A couple of the council members had approached us on, Olathe has a program, seems like a distant memory now. Olathe has a program where they actually have a volunteer brigade to clean snow off of qualifying persons' private driveways. So we'll be following up with those inquiries that we've received from the council relative to that issue, with some possible recommendations that might slice in get the job done, go in a little bit of a different direction. And also, you may remember Monique Lewis had a second part to her presentation, and she has agreed to come before the council with that follow-up on the council presentation on that night as well. That concludes staff reports for this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Mr. Fearborn? All right, we'll move on to next item. We don't have any committee reports. Next item is the consent agenda. We only have one item on the consent agenda, so I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda to include item A, City Council minutes, March 11th, 2019.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Item A, City Council minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. It's unanimous. 7-0. It's approved. We'll move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3439 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3439 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, establishing Chapter 285, Regulation of Open Burning of the City of Raymore Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Bill 3439, Regulation of Open Burning.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3439. Any further discussion? You want to reiterate what we're doing here? Because I know you'd brought it up and you did a really good job of succinctly saying that last time, because I think that we had some folks wonder if we were wandering.
As I recall, I think I asked Mr. Zur that, or perhaps Mr. Furborn, that basically what happened, if I am reading properly, the state regulated this before. This was done by state regulation. The regulation was changed by the legislature, and we are basically adopting a version almost identical to what the state had before. And still the enforcement part of this new regulation comes under the auspices of South Metro Fire Department here within our city limits. Certainly, if our police were needed for some reason, they might accompany the fire department, but mainly it was their baby before, and it is still their baby if they get called out on some type of unauthorized burning. Other than that, there were no substantial changes between what we are preparing to adopt tonight, or may adopt tonight, and what we approved at our last meeting versus what was already in effect or is still in effect via state law. Is that correct, Mr. Zur?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
For a lawyer, I have to form that in a question statement, right?
And you did a good job
Thank you.
of summing it up last time, and I just wanted folks to hear that again. Thank you, Jay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Okay, please have the second reading of Bill 3440 by title only.
The second reading of Bill 3440 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, repealing ordinance number 26055, an ordinance amending and restating Bill number 1943, providing for the annexation of unincorporated territory and the extension of the corporate limits of the City of Raymore, all pursuant to Section 71.015 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri as amended, repealing Ordinance 26056, an ordinance amending and restating Bill number 1944, providing for the annexation of unincorporated territory and the extension of corporate limits of the City of Raymore, all pursuant to Section 71.015 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri as amended, and repealing Ordinance number 26057, an ordinance amending and restating Bill number 1945, providing for the annexation of unincorporated territory and the extension of the corporate limits of the City of Raymore, all pursuant to Section 71.015 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri as amended.
Thank you, Jeannie. I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3440.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3440, nullify current annexation plan of intent.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3440. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Please have the second reading of Bill 3442 by title only.
The second reading of Bill 3442 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city manager to enter into a contract with Black & McDonald for the Municipal Circle Streetlight Installation Project in the amount of $29,740.44, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3442.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Bill 3442, award a contract, Municipal Circle Street Light Installation.
And I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3442. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. It concludes old business. We'll now move on to new business. First item under new business, could I please have the first reading of Bill 3444 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3444 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Black & McDonald for the Buckingham Court Street Light Installation Project in the amount of $13,475 and to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make the staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of council. What you have before you tonight is a proposal from Black & McDonald to install a couple of streetlights on 163rd Street in the vicinity of Buckingham Court and High Point, filling a gap on 163rd Street. We do recommend approval of this proposal. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Mr. Holman?
Mr. Kress, was this citizen request driven, or is this a city initiated?
It was city initiated. We kind of noticed after we had completed the work up there on the subdivisions that we had to do that, there was still a gap in the collector street system. And as 163rd Street extends to the east, we felt this was appropriate time to fill that in.
I appreciate that. The reason I ask is that is probably the thing that Mr. Barber and I get most frequently, not direct contact, but just incidental contact. You'll run into somebody at Price Chopper and they'll ask about that, and we'll say, well, you can request a street light. And I said the biggest issue we have is nobody wants it in front of their home. Well, I'll take it. And it seems like that they're excited, but nobody follows through with the process after we tell them how it's done. So I was curious if this was one of those that somebody had actually carried the ball all the way to the end zone, or it was ours. But you've answered that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Streetlight related, but not this project. Just a general question on the Lucy Webb roundabout streetlights. Is that one on delay or hold based on some economic development concerns in the area?
Yes, there's some with the economic development that's potentially occurring in there and some change in traffic patterns. We felt it was best to kind of hold off on that until we had a really good picture of what the transportation needs are in that area.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3444.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Bill 3444, award of contract, Buckingham Court street light installation.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3444. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. That concludes new business. We are now to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to step forward and talk to the council here, please do so. Dale, I won't make it do that. I don't see anybody in the audience stepping forward, so we'll go ahead and move on to mayor and council communication. And I'll start with Mr. Barber tonight.
I'm going to keep this going. I have no comment.
Okay. Mr. Delgado.
Going this way, I'll just take a moment to thank Ms. Lawrence for coming to give us the update on the Arts Commission. And in addition to that, thank all of those who serve on the Arts Commission. We don't see them very often, but it sounds like they're very, very hard at work based on her update she shared this evening. So just a shout out for everyone who's on the Arts Commission, and they're planning lots of fabulous things. So if you don't already follow them on Facebook or check out their information on our website, be sure you keep your eye out because they've got some stuff happening. Thank you.
They really do. Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really didn't have any comments tonight, but since Councilman Adelgawad mentioned the Arts Council, I will mention again that I'm looking forward to the paint and sip. I think I'm going to do that this year. It sounds like a good time. That's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Not
Mr.
much
Holman.
of a painter, more the latter, but yeah, thank you.
Mr. Holman?
Thank you, sir. Just one thing. It kind of dovetails off Chief Zimmerman's report tonight. In looking at the police report or police blotter, we had a very quiet week as far as crime. In fact, there was so little. The chief didn't have much to write in there. There were no items of interest to report, which is a great thing. I take every opportunity I can to remind everybody, year after year after year on our citizen survey, safety and security are the things that our citizens value above all else. Above all else, and that's understandable. We all want ourselves and our children and our neighbors and our families to be safe. And the police department cannot control crime and criminal acts and disorder, but they can impact it. Would you agree, Chief? And they have certainly done a good job of that. And if you consider The past week was probably our first fully warm week we've had in many months. It was also spring break for our school and a neighboring school district, which means a lot of kids are back out into the mix, and a lot of people are out of town on vacation. That means their homes and their vehicles, if not properly secured, are at risk. So I found that to be a very nice report given the conditions. I would have expected it to be a little bit the other way. So great job, Chief. You and the entire department, please pass on my thanks. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it brief also. Thanks to the Arts Commission Chairwoman this evening for the report. I also wanted to thank the South Grand River Watershed Alliance for their Linear Park, and I got to participate in the annual stream cleanup of Linear Park, and that was great. This year's seemed to be less trash out in the creek area. I got an opportunity to meet with a lot of the residents in the area as well, with the mayor. He was out as well and participated in that. So that was very good, and seeing how the citizens in the community get out and help clean up. And I believe there's another area at Hawk Ridge as well. They're out doing that area over there, taking care of the area, keeping it clean. And again, thanks for everyone who came out, and again, thank you to the Watershed Alliance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Good. Thank you. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank the residents of Ward 2. I went around and talked to people a lot last week, and my family was out of town skiing without me, and so I spent the week. And I had a great time during the day when I was going around speaking to people in the evening. When my family was gone, I was a little bored, but I really appreciated all the people that welcomed me in their homes or sat on the porch, and we talked about their neighborhood, and it was really a good time reconnecting with people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Circo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not much to say tonight. Chief Zimmerman, I want to thank you for putting this presentation, your department. You guys do a fantastic job. I find out anytime I go out of town, I call. I let them know I'm leaving and when I'm coming back, and they do a great job. Every time I come back, the neighbors say, we saw the police department at your house this night or that night. They walk around your yard, they check your house. I said, yeah, I call them. I said, you need to do that. They'll watch your house and they take care of your neighborhoods when they know you're gone. You do a fantastic job. Our RPD is so good about everything they do on that. And I deal with Captain Wilson on a few issues too, and it's just fantastic. Thank you for all you guys do for the city.
Thank you, sir. And I was able to participate in the airport groundbreaking this afternoon up at the KCI Airport. Got to watch Mayor James get into one of the big motorized jackhammers and make the first chip in old Terminal A there. And I've got some photos of them. They really went to work right away after that initial groundbreaking ceremony, and all the speeches were over with. But again, I wanted to reiterate what this is going to do for our region with regard to economic development, all the high-profile national events that are looking at Kansas City as a place to hold those events. And a lot of people that come from outside the area, their first impression is the airport. And while we as locals have learned to love it as an ugly sister, it's a great location for them to build this new terminal. And I actually had some folks say that they had thought that it was going to be at another location. And no, it's right there where Terminal A is where a lot of the work is going to be conducted. The terminal will be in place, and then they'll begin the demolition of B and C. So it really is a beautiful facility, at least the renditions are, and hopefully that'll come through. I know there were a lot of folks there today that are anxious to get underway and working on that. It's going to bring about 5,000 jobs to the area over the next 4 years. The construction industry, hopefully they have the manpower with which to handle those jobs, because there is a lot of work to be done up there throughout this process. And then, as Mr. Townsend said in the stream cleanup, thank you, Mr. Townsend, for joining me out there that day. It was good. Actually, it was about twice as many people have been out there in the past. Were you over at Hawk Ridge, Nathan? Did you go over to Hawk Ridge? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know how many people turned up at Hawk Ridge because we were at Linear Park down there off of Lucy Webb. Did you ever hear from your? Oh, good. Well, about the same number of people then. That was a great turnout for both locations. For those of you who don't know, I'm also in Rotary, and this year we are taking part in that, and also in Belton, which is next weekend at Oil Creek. And so if I know there were some folks from Belton that came over here and helped. Maybe if you have an open time on Saturday morning on the 30th, you feel inclined to help a neighbor, that'd be a good opportunity for us to help with their stream cleanup as well. Their watershed there, I think, goes to the Little Blue. Ours actually goes south into the Sac River, I think. South Grand, yeah, because it is South Grand Rivershed, sure. They're kind of on two different sides of the ridge there. But and then also, Chief, thank you for that reminder. I know it was always a task that I tried to keep fresh in the minds of the people here in town. We've got a lot more people living here now. Need to be reminded about that. We are an attractive community, not only to live here, but for thieves to come here as well from time to time. So please secure your personal belongings. That's all I have. Do we ever need to go to? Nope. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and second for adjournment. All in favor? It's unanimous, 7-0. We're adjourned. Thank you.